Hey, welcome into week one, Snap Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host, Mac, joined by my co-host down below, Lando. What's going on, buddy? This is week uno.
This is week one, man. I'm psyched for it. I'm ready to rock. This is something we've been waiting for a long time.
Does this feel like Christmas morning?
It does.
The answer is
it
yes.
does indeed. Week one is the toughest one to predict. And
yes,
there's the narrative where you start your studs. And that's it. Go with how you drafted. And then there's the other side where it's like, no, play the matchup. I know you drafted a guy like Jonathan Taylor high, but you have Nick Chubb.
Right.
I mean, that's going to be a tough start-sit decision. Or say you have a good matchup and you have Boston Scott, who just is now the starter for Philadelphia. Do you start him over a guy like Kareem Hunt? These are questions we're about to answer.
These are going to be the tough ones. Let's start with some of the guys that we have on the screen beside us here. These are the notable ins and outs for this week. Obviously, there's a couple more, but from a fantasy perspective, this is a pretty heavy list. So Miles Sanders is not making the trip with the Philadelphia Eagles today. That hurts.
Yeah.
That hurts. Kenny Golladay also out. So the question that we talked about on the podcast yesterday, who's going to get the bump with Kenny Golladay out? Is it going to be Marvin Jones? Is it going to be maybe Kerryon or potentially TJ Hawkinson? You want to reiterate for those that didn't catch the pod yesterday?
Sorry, say that one more time, Mac.
Who's going to get the bump in Detroit with Kenny out? Is it going to be Marvin Jones? Is it going to be TJ Hawkinson? Is it going to be one of the running backs?
It's going to be both. It's definitely going to be both guys. I'm excited. Yeah, sure, I'm excited to see DeAndre Swift, but I'm not going to rely on him,
right?
Especially with the addition of Adrian Peterson. Marvin Jones automatically gets a massive boost. He is in the conversation with high-end wide receivers. I would play Marvin Jones ahead of guys like Amari Cooper and T.Y. Hilton, Stephon Diggs, potentially even Odell Beckham Jr., just because of the opportunity that we'll see from Marvin Jones.
Right.
I also think, especially if you're playing in any kind of tight end premium league, TJ Hawkinson is a smash play. He's a top 5, top 6 tight end, no question.
Like the listener league.
Just like the listener league.
Deebo Samuel is out. We are still waiting on some news from Brandon Ayuk, but regardless, if you're playing some DFS this week or in a deeper league, Kendrick Bourne, I think, is a really sneaky play. I am in a couple DraftKings lineups playing Jimmy Garoppolo and Kendrick Bourne stack. And I've considered Raheem Mostert, but that game is going to happen as well. We talked about that one off camera earlier, but that game's going to happen. Air quality seems to be decent enough, I should say. And then the last one,
we'll definitely see for sure. It's going to be a tough one, but
right. Yeah. And this one kind of feels like I hope that the Niners just look like themselves and come out and torch the Cardinals, because that's what I think should happen. But in these divisional games, these two teams have had slow games, and the Cardinals have at times shocked the Niners. So I wouldn't be shocked to see that happen again today. There is the possibility of that. Last one, the man on the thumbnail who you all came to see, get some advice on because you drafted him in the second, early third round in a redraft league, Mike Evans. Lando, if you are an owner of Mike Evans, are you taking a shot on him this week in what projects to be just complete fireworks between the Bucs and Saints?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
I'm sitting Mike Evans down on my bench. The last thing you want is to start Mike Evans and him pull up with another hamstring strain or be limited. And he already doesn't have a good relationship with Tom Brady. Tom Brady loves his slot receiver, and that's Chris Godwin.
Oh, yes.
And Chris Godwin is an absolute smash play. I should be switching my DFS lineups to get Chris Godwin in there, every single one of them. And I'm not comfortable at all with Mike Evans. I do not want to start him. It's that injury concern, that hamstring. A lot of people are out with hamstring injuries already. He should be out, so he should not be playing this week, and I won't be playing him on my lineups.
Yeah, I'm probably going to be hands off as well. It sucks. I mean, this list of injuries: Miles Sanders, Kenny Golladay, Mike Evans, Jarvis Landry, Cortland Sutton. These are all guys that were drafted early in your leagues, and to have these guys not playing week 1 certainly hurts. But we're going to try today to give you some replacements for those guys. Before we get to the second list of players here, if you're new to the channel, please hit the subscribe button or consider doing so. Really helps out the channel. We're trying to get to 250 subscribers. I know it's a small milestone, but every single sub counts. So if you're not ready to subscribe, maybe click that like button and help the stream out. Really, really appreciate it. While we are going through these guys, please put your questions in the comments because we will be getting to them shortly. Up on the list here, Jarvis Landry is declared a go, but he will be limited. It seems like he'll be put on a snap count. Are you willing, in a potentially tough matchup against the Ravens, willing to start Jarvis Landry?
I had this question earlier, and the question was Jarvis Landry or Emmanuel Sanders.
Oh, baby. I mean, I'd be inclined to go the Sanders route there.
So I picked Landry.
Oh.
I know it's a tough matchup. I think Landry's a bulldog. He's a guy that's going to fight through injuries. He's done it his whole career. He hasn't missed almost any games in his whole career. So I still go Landry. I know it's a tough matchup, not great, but that gives Odell Beckham a boost. And I think we're going to get a lot of Odell Beckham questions today.
And I think you have no reason not to start Odell Beckham Jr., especially with the limitation of Jarvis Landry. We could see a little bit of Donovan Peoples-Jones in a rookie debut in this one, but I look to Austin Hooper to have a bigger role, and I certainly think that they're going to try to run the ball with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. And on the Baltimore side of the field, obviously we know that they run more than anybody else in the league. Lamar Jackson, Mark Ingram, J.K. Dobbins going to be running wild. So this game could be short in terms of time of possession, just with how much that clock's going to be chewing too. So yeah. I'm going to be hands off on Jarvis Landry this week just for a couple of those reasons.
What game, before we get into the questions, what game are you looking forward to most today?
From a fantasy perspective?
From like your own interest. Like you have maybe a lot of players in this lineup. You have maybe a rookie that you really want to watch. You have question marks.
Yeah, I mean,
like
obviously you want to watch your favorite team play, and Green Bay versus Minnesota is always great. And it's our two teams going up against each other. You got to replace that Diggs jersey, by the way. And as I support a Greg Jennings jersey, throwing it back. But that's obviously one that I want to watch. From a fantasy perspective, I think Bucs Saints is going to be must-watch TV. I'm also looking into seeing Jonathan Taylor on the field and J.K. Dobbins. Yeah. Those are the two running backs I seem to have a lot of shares of, and I'm really excited to see those two pop off. I think a lot of people are going to be pleasantly surprised by Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah. So we had a question off of Twitter that I wanted to ask you, Mac.
Okay.
Standard league. So he's living in the Stone Age here. We got to pick three.
Okay.
He's got Marvin Jones Jr., Jonathan Taylor, DJ Moore, and Marquise Brown. We've got to pick three of these guys. It was locked in until the Kenny G news.
Right. So I mean, DJ Moore's not even in the question. He is a full-on start, plug and play.
Yeah. You got to start your DJ Moore.
I guess it comes down to like Marvin Jones with the Kenny G news presents to get a bump, and Matt Stafford will throw that ball no matter what the game script is. So I like Marvin Jones as a 2. Who are you putting in for the 3 though? Jonathan Taylor's certainly the upside play in my opinion.
Yeah. Marquise Brown does not project to get a ton of targets. He's gaining on.
He's boom. He might. We should put it this way. If you need the big play, if you are projected to lose this matchup, by 10 to 15 points, maybe you go the Brown route. But I certainly think that Jonathan Taylor will provide you enough safety that it'll get you by if you're favored. Is that what you would do? Would you go Taylor there?
Yep.
Taylor for the floor, Marquise Brown for the ceiling. Before we get to more questions, couple last things. David Montgomery has made an unbelievable stride this week. He was projected doubtful, then questionable. Now he is declared to go, and the report out of Chicago is that David Montgomery will be a full participant with a full workload in this game against the Lions. the matchup is juicy. So I don't know. I have David Montgomery in a lot of spots. I'm still contemplating whether I should start him or not. Maybe you can talk me into that one really quick, Landon, and then we'll get to Jalen Reagor and Cortland Sutton.
You're gonna have to repeat. I just responded to our guy on Twitter. What's your start set?
David Montgomery. Are you starting him or not?
Montgomery, I do not feel comfortable starting either. Okay. These guys that are coming off of injuries, I didn't expect him to play. I'm going to pivot as much as I can, unless you literally have no other option. Unless you're looking at guys like Chase Edmonds or even Latavius Murray. Those are the only guys I would consider maybe Montgomery off of him. But even if you have a Phillip Lindsay or Zach Moss, I might even consider those guys over Montgomery. Yeah, it's going super Montgomery. High risk to me. I'm going to sit down Montgomery.
I'm going Montgomery over both those guys.
Right.
Matchup's too good. I think he does play full. Jalen Reagor's another one that made a lot of strides this week, trending to play. He is a full go on the sheet. I'm not playing Jalen Reagor just because I don't believe that Philly will have a great week. So I'm going to pivot off that. And then Cortland Sutton is the big one. So he had an AC joint sprain. At this point in time, there's still a possibility that he plays. However, it's a Monday night game. And I don't want to have to take a shot that Cortland Sutton's going to help me contribute to a week-winning performance on a Monday night when I potentially have no one to replace him with. So I'm going to be hands-off on Cortland Sutton. I am pivoting now. I'm not taking the chance come Monday night. But if you are, make sure that Cortland Sutton is in your flex. So, Lando, let's get to some questions here.
It's about time, my friend. Let's get it.
It's about to go down. Just be behind me when I walk in. All right, let's go back through the YouTube questions here. Eric, one question. Superflex, half PPR league. Does he start Deshaun Jackson or Bryan Edwards as his wide receiver 3?
Deshaun Jackson.
Yeah, I'm also Deshaun Jackson there. I'm with Edwards and Ruggs. Certainly, there's potential, but I want to see it first. And putting one rookie on the field for an offense is one thing, but counting on 2 is going to be tough. I am going to go Deshaun Jackson. Easy, we'll get back to your second one in a bit. Dylan, G100, Deshaun Jackson, or Evan Ingram in a full PPR? I'm going to go Evan Ingram there. If it's a full PPR, the volume, what do you think?
I'd still probably go D-Jax.
Okay, interesting. We need someone to tie break. Brad comes in, Bills game, no one cares. I'm kidding, Brad. He had a question. Lead me to a win today. Kerryon Johnson, Allen Lazard, Robbie Anderson, or N'Keal Harry. Cobb was a bust for him, so I'm assuming he wants us to help with his flex. So Kerryon Johnson, Allen Lazard, Robbie Anderson, N'Keal Harry. This is an interesting list. I'm curious to see who you would go here.
I'm just gonna bring that up so I can look at everything.
Hey, are your ears working today?
I'm just, you know what? I'm all over the map here, Matt.
Focus, Landon. Focus.
This is in the chat here. This is from Brad.
Yes, all the way at the top.
All the way at the top.
I'm sorry, Brad. Landon is out to lunch today.
Oh, geez. I would probably go Allen Lazard.
Wow. Okay. That's not. I mean, I love Lazard. I'm gonna go there. N'Keal Harry or Kerryon Johnson, and DeAndre Swift is not playing. Right, that's another one we could have had up on our board. They signed Adrian Peterson. I do think Kerryon gets the work just because AP's coming into this lineup. He doesn't know the offense as well as Kerryon, I should say, and I think they're going to look to Kerryon as the veteran player on this team, not in the league, but on this team to lead the way on the ground. So I'm going to go Kerryon as the safer play. I think N'Keal Harry, I mean, we've seen him work out with Cam Newton all offseason. The footage on them is good. It looks like they have a good rapport. I think N'Keal Harry is going to be a really, really sneaky play this whole entire year. I think people are sleeping on him because of last year, and I think he will have touchdown upside. So I would probably lean N'Keal Harry, but Kerryon Johnson is a close second for me.
Yep. We'll see who he trusts more when he puts in his lineup.
Yeah. Nothing but 51-50. 1 point PPR. So full PPR, who does he start? James Robinson or Leonard Fournette. We got the Jaguar and the current new shiny Jaguar, if that even exists. Who would you go, James Robinson or Leonard Fournette?
I would go Fournette. I commented on him in the post. It's tough for sure for me, but I think Fournette has the touchdown upside with Tampa Bay to sneak one in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd probably go Fournette too. I have no idea what Robinson projects to be or what that Jags offense looks like. I don't have high hopes for anybody other than DJ Chark. Let's go with Trevor. Trevor R. Tariq Cohen or Leonard Fournette as his running back 2. Miles Sanders is out, and Scott has been drafted. Boston Scott has been drafted. So he says, I'm probably screwed, but it is a half PPR. So who are you going with there, Cohen or Fournette?
This one's close for me because I'm projecting Montgomery to be very limited. I do think Cohen will get some work. Detroit's defense is not great. I would probably go Cohen in a PPR league, but again, like we said, the Fournette, Tampa Bay, it would just seem perfectly right if Fournette scores 1 or 2 in this matchup.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry, I lost you there for a little. Your video's jumping over. I just gotta do some rearranging on you. But I'm gonna say that Fournette is the play here. I'm the opposite of you, Landon. I think that David Montgomery does get a full workload, does have a decent week, and Tariq Cohen is going to be just limited to his passing work, which we've seen be very valuable in the past. But the touchdown upside for Leonard Fournette is big, so I'm going to go with him.
Yeah, I do think if you think you're screwed, you go Fournette because his upside for touchdowns is massive. Where Cohen's I think you'll be happy if Cohen gets you 12 half PPR points.
Right. Anything coming in off of Sleeper, Lando?
Let me go and check.
We are live on Sleeper. I do have one from a friend. Guillotine League. So a Guillotine League, if you are the losing team after 1 week, all your players get dropped and you are out of the league. He says, should he take the upside on Evans or roll with Allen Lazard or Malcolm Brown? Whew, that's gross. I don't think Allen Lazard's going to be a bust. I do think that someone's going to have to step up for Green Bay. I do think he is the one.
Yeah.
Malcolm Brown projects, I think, to be very relevant this week. I could see him getting in the end zone. I could see him getting, 60 to 70 yards on the ground. He'll probably get double-digit carries with Darrell Henderson not playing and Cam Akers projected to get maybe a smaller workload than we hope for. So I'm gonna go probably Malcolm Brown there. Unless Allen Lazard gets into the end zone, I don't think the volume will be there enough.
Maybe it's I'm not having confidence in the Vikings defense. I would go Lazard. I'm not a big fan of Malcolm Brown. I know he should get work. I just right now in that backfield, it's a question mark. I think whoever's in that backfield week 1 is going to be a disappointment. Cam Akers should take the workload going forward.
Right.
I know it's risky to take a risk on Lazard, especially if we didn't see it much last year, but that's where I would go.
Okay.
Lazard again. All right, so I'm going to jump on Sleeper. We have pick 3, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex. Robert Woods, Lockett, and T.Y. Hilton, Boston Scott.
So we're starting 3 out of this list?
Pick 3.
Everyone but Boston Scott.
2 wide receiver, 1 flex.
Everyone but Boston Scott.
It's between flexing Boston Scott or flexing one of these wide receivers.
And I would take all 3 wide receivers.
And you'd sit down Boston Scott.
I mean, I understand Miles Sanders is out, but I do think it's going to be somewhat of a committee approach there. Like Corey Clement probably get on the field. They're probably going to be behind in this game and maybe need to. Or sorry, they're playing Washington. Maybe not be behind, but they're missing some key pieces in this offense. Counting on Jalen Reagor as a rookie coming off an injury to carry the load. I just think there's going to be a lot of struggles. So I'm probably going to say everybody but Boston Scott on this list.
Waller or Marvin Jones Jr. in half PPR. I think that's obvious.
Waller.
I think we
That's a
go Marvin
Waller.
Jones Jr. there.
No, that's
As
a
much
Waller.
as I
What?
I like
You're going Marvin Jones there?
over Waller
I'm
in the
going.
flex.
I'd be going Waller.
Oh dang! All right, all right.
I don't think that's obvious.
Yeah, I mean, tight ends just generally, even though
Sure,
we like Waller, aren't going to get as many targets as what I've seen Marvin Jones going to have.
but Darren Waller was the target leader in that offense last year.
I agree, but I have Marvin Jones Jr. pretty high up in the wide receiving ranks, even though Waller is a top 6 projected tight end this week. I think the ceiling is much higher for Marvin Jones.
Interesting. Okay, difference of opinion.
Yeah.
That's fine. Trevor R back in the comments. Another pool: Hunt or Moss, half PPR. I'm gonna go Kareem Hunt. You got to roll with Kareem Hunt here until Zach Moss shows you he can do it. I don't think you want to have him in a spot where it counts. So have him prove you wrong on your bench, because if he does so, then you have a great player that you can roll moving forward. But if you are counting on him week 1 and he doesn't materialize, that's going to be tough to swallow. So I'm going to go Kareem Hunt. We've seen his relevancy. We know what he's capable of with Nick Chubb, and we know that he's not a hindrance. So roll with Kareem Hunt, and I think Landon is a firm on that as well.
I agree. I mean, we love the upside for Zach Moss. I had him as a breakout potential, but even though it's a good matchup against the Jets, I still want to see it first. That's a good point, Mac.
Connor Benoit, welcome. Haven't seen your name before, so I assume maybe finding us for the first time. Lev Bell or DK Metcalf in the flex? This is a full PPR league.
These are the kind of questions I like.
Now, these are the heavy hitters. I
Yeah.
am going DK. I'm going DK.
Yeah, and I do think this does come down to if you're ahead or behind in the matchup. Buffalo's a tough defense. The Seattle Atlanta game is going to be hopefully some fireworks. This is one we've seen all these guys before. We don't need to see anything new with this matchup, but that projects to be just a shootout.
Mm-hmm.
All the quarterbacks are back with their wide receivers, except for Todd Gurley.
Right.
But I would go Metcalf as well, especially if you're behind. You'd be happy for Lev Bell, considering what he did last year, to get you 10 points in that league, where Metcalf, you want to get 18. I think that's where Metcalf has a higher ceiling as well.
And just touchdown upside is definitely Metcalf. Last year, Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf combined for 71 red zone or touchdown. Red zone or end zone targets. So Russell Wilson, when they get down to score, he likes targeting Lockett and Metcalf. And if they're not going to do it on the ground, he's going to go to one of those two. I like DK Metcalf for the size and the physicality that he plays with. So DK Metcalf is a smash play for me there. Zubin, welcome to the stream. Jonathan Taylor, Marlon Mack, or T.Y. Hilton for flex, full PPR. So we're just going full Colts. Crazy that you have 3 Colts on your roster. What are you leaning here? I mean, I'm probably going to stay away from the running backs if I'm forced to choose and just go T.Y. because I think T.Y. projects to be solid.
Full PPR, that's where the difference is for me. It's going to be T.Y. for me as well. I'm projecting to have a really big game. If he does zoom in, I would look to trade T.Y. Hilton. You don't want to have a lot of players on the same team no matter what. And we know T.Y. Hilton struggles with a little bit of injury concerns. If you could get T.Y. for maybe like a Courtland Sutton plus after Courtland's injury, I think that's a great kind of pivot, especially if T.Y. booms this week. I have T.Y. playing in a lot of DraftKings matchups, so I'd go T.Y. I know the big hype around the 2 running backs for the Colts. I love Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah.
I do. Mac and I were talking about this earlier. Week 1, even though it should be, you can start both guys. Both guys are very startable this week.
Right.
Marlon Mack, I think, projects to have more of the workload week 1. That should change going forward. But so back to back, I'm going to start Marlon week 1 for the floor, Taylor for the upside. But with your question there, between those 3, you got to go Ty. Thanks for the question, man. Thanks for stopping by.
Yeah, absolutely. If I'm forced to choose, I just don't want to if I have another suitable option. And Phillip Rivers has had a pattern of hyper targeting and supporting a wide receiver one, Keenan Allen, his whole career in the last, in the age of Keenan Allen. So I don't think anything will be different with this new situation with T.Y. Hilton. And T.Y. Hilton projects to be healthy. I know he struggled in the past, but we have a healthy T.Y. There are 13 of you watching so far, only 5 likes. If you wouldn't mind, click that little thumbs up button. Really helps out the stream. You have no idea, but helps get our faces out to other people. So just a quick click on that like button, please and thanks. Zubin, thanks for the tip. It's my first. Well, welcome to fantasy football, my brother. Welcome. We're happy to have you. Maybe next year, this time, we'll be talking about Zubin in our listener league, which is off to an unbelievable start, by the way. 14-team, super flex, tiered PPR, tight end premium. It is last year was a pretty cordial and competitive league. This is a chippy competitive league. People are talking trash, coming at people's necks. It's out of control, and I like it.
Okay, I've got a question from Sleeper here. He's going to be joining us any second. Start the car 510. He posted on here, J.K. Dobbins or Tariq Cohen, week 1, half PPR. I'm like, man, I'm gonna answer this on the live YouTube. He's like, I only have an hour. I got to do it now. I'm like, don't worry. I'll answer your question
don't
right now.
Just chill.
We got you, man. Start the car, J.K. Dobbins or Tariq Cohen.
Oh, again, David Montgomery projects everything we've read and heard, projects to have a full workload. And when David Montgomery gets the ball, Tariq Cohen is relegated to the passing work. And I think the upside is within J.K. Dobbins. I think there's enough football to be run on the ground in Baltimore, and I think he gets some looks. Week 1, I'm going J.K. Dobbins.
You're going J.K. Dobbins to start. And Mac, when I asked you which my favorite game to watch this week, it is going to be this Baltimore-Cleveland game.
Okay.
Just because of J.K. Dobbins, I want to see Odell Beckham healthy. I want to see how Kareem Hunt is used after his contract extension. And I feel think
like there's
J.K.
a butt
Dobbins
there.
takes over this backfield. But I would probably play Tariq Cohen in a half PPR league. Isn't that gross, though?
I think you're way too high on Tariq Cohen this week. I hope that I'm wrong about that, but I've owned him and played him in the past.
I'll go consensus. Go J.K. Dobbins over Cohen this week.
Oh,
I think it's a risky play for me. I think the floor for Dobbins is going to be lower.
I don't think Tariq Cohen is a safe play though.
No, but I think he has a chance to get that 8 to 10 half PPR points, no question. Where Dobbins, I think, his floor is around 6, but I think Dobbins has the upside to get that 12 to 15 fantasy points, especially if he scores a touchdown. And he could really take that role. I like Mark Ingram week 1. I'm playing a lot of Mark Ingram. He should have a good workload. I'm excited to see J.K. Dobbins play, but I think his floor is lower than Tariq Cohen's, but his ceiling is higher.
Okay, that's fair. Certainly fair. Jonathan Chugg tuned in. Thanks, brother. No, thank you, my brother. Thank you. Appreciate you. Do you have any of your own starts and sits that you are struggling with, Landon?
Oh, I do. Odell Beckham or Odell or Terry McLaurin.
Oh, yeah, that is tough. Oh, okay. Well, so there's 2 ways that this could go. Terry McLaurin could just be hyper targeted in a game where they're forced to throw. But then, there's the Antonio Gibson factor as well. I still think Terry projects to be fairly safe because he's like the only person in this wide receiving core that's worthy of a target. So there's that play, but then the touchdown upside just isn't there. And then you go the other side, Odell Beckham Jr. looks healthy. I mean, I've been watching some of his YouTube stuff. Looks healthy, looks strong, getting back into form. There's no reason why Odell Beckham Jr. can't have 120 yards receiving this week and break off like a 70-yard touchdown. So I think that the bigger ceiling play is certainly Odell Beckham Jr., and he still runs intermediate routes. He runs a lot of slants, so he'll probably still get the volume. The matchup's just not as good for them with Baltimore. Man, that's tough. I would personally play Odell Beckham Jr.
That's who I have right now.
He's the better talent of the two. He's special.
Or most proven talent, anyways.
I still think he's a better player.
Yeah.
So I'll go out Odell. I'm not out on him. I don't think he's going to be a bust. I think that you got an absolute value on him this year in the 5th or 6th round, and he's going to return for you this week.
I love it. We just got a new subscriber. Start the car.
Woo!
Man, this is why we do the grind.
250.
You know?
We are trying to get to 250. Currently 18 viewers. This is great. For those of you that are new, welcome. If you wouldn't mind clicking that subscribe button, really helps the channel. If not, a like. There's only 8 likes. We'd like to maybe get everybody that's watching have a like, but we're going to go back to the comments and keep going. Patrick Redding, what's up, boys? What's going on, buddy? PPR, Ridley, Boston Scott, Cooper Kupp. Who do I sit? You don't try to get cute, right, Landon? You sit down Boston Scott. You drafted Ridley.
And he's going to be a popular play if the fantasy community has got caught in this kind of hole before where the starter goes down and you go with the backup. There's a reason why they're the backup. I know Boston Scott's gotten a lot of hype in training camp, but the offensive line for Philly's banged up. The only reason that we wanted a running back there is the talent of Miles Sanders. I'm not super thrilled with the talent of Boston Scott, even though he will be involved. To me, Deshaun Jackson and the two, I would even start Dallas Goedert in this game if I was in a pinch. But I think Zach Ertz is an absolute smash play.
Right. Yeah, I'm just gonna reiterate. You drafted Ridley, you drafted Kupp to be your guys, to be the core of your wide receivers, and Cooper Kupp just got paid. They want him to be a big part of what they're doing, and you don't try to get cute in week 1 with the news that Miles Sanders is out and thinking Boston Scott will give you that running back 1 performance. Go with your two stud wide receivers. Adam. Cam Akers, Phillip Lindsay, or J.K. Dobbins. I guess we'll assume a half PPR league for default. This is a tricky one. This is very tricky, and I know where I lean. I'm curious to see what you say.
You know what? If we're gonna roll on the J.K. Dobbins train, why would we get off?
We're not getting off.
But I do think the thing is Cam Akers does present an easier path to carries than JK, even though Baltimore runs the ball the most in the league. Right. I'm not a big Malcolm Brown fan. We saw Cam Akers kind of struggle with some fumbles in training camp. We saw him on Hard Knocks.
I mean, he's getting
I don't know, man.
These
are
Aaron
all
Donald,
really
bro.
close in rankings.
He's getting tackled by Aaron Donald. Grain of salt there,
fair.
Right? But yeah, no. Yeah, we're on the J.K. Dobbins train. We might as well keep that thing chugging. So I would go there. Phillip Lindsay is an interesting play, especially with Courtland Sutton out. He could be lined up in the slot maybe or used in a different role we haven't seen. So interesting to see what happens with the Broncos. But yeah, J.K. Dobbins is the upside play. I think Phillip Lindsay is your safest play. He'll still be utilized.
I think Tennessee is going to be a heck of a matchup for them.
Oh, big time.
I have Lindsay in 0% of my fantasy teams, and I'm not worried about it.
Mm-hmm.
He's one of those guys with Jordan Howard where I'm just kind of like, I'll let someone else get those 10 points, and I'll take the higher risk rookies or some other players that I think are better upside.
Right. Taylor Muir, longtime listener and listener league participant. JJ Arcega-Whiteside or Blake Jarwin. Oh my God. Again, with the Philly thing, I know we're limited with the receiving options. You got to look to those tight ends to take, the brunt of the workload, and maybe Jalen Reagor. So I'm going to go with Blake Jarwin, go with the better offense. Dak loves his tight end, as you know, being a Cowboys fan. So go Blake Jarwin.
Yeah, I agree.
Beautiful. Zubin, again, what do you guys think about Juju this year? I know last year wasn't his best. We talked about Juju on the podcast. Check us out on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, Snap Fantasy Football Podcast. I think with Big Ben back, he fits Juju's play style, and Juju having to be the alpha last year with Mason Rudolph and Devlin Hodges wasn't great. And Ben is going to be a huge piece to Juju. I think those that drafted him late, I say late because last year he was a second-round pick. Those that drafted him late this year are probably going to be pleasantly surprised and pleased with what they get from Juju. But I think if Ben happens to get injured again, it's going to be move him quick. And I think if Juju does pop off, I'm going to try and trade him.
Yeah, I wouldn't jump on the trade bust a little bit, but the pendulum has swung too far for Juju. I think he was a top 2-3 dynasty wide receiver. He's still super talented. I think I don't have Juju anywhere this year, but he's one of those guys I wish I had more of. I think the Juju the ceiling for Juju this year is super high with Big Ben, as long as his shoulder is decent.
I agree. Eric, again, easy dad. Oh no, sorry, we missed Peyton Reif. Sorry, buddy. What's up, guys? Full PPR. Start 3, 2 wide receivers, and 1 flex. Oh, he needs to start 3. He has 2 wide receiver, 1 flex. Robert Woods, Tyler Lockett, T.Y. Hilton, Boston Scott, and Leonard Fournette. Whoo! So I'm going to go right out the gates here. You need to start.
Lock in your studs.
Yeah,
lock it.
You need to roll with the full slate of wide receivers here. Again, Boston Scott and Leonard Fournette. Certainly, Boston Scott with the whole situation this week, no Miles Sanders. We think maybe Boston Scott can be Miles Sanders, and that's typically not the case. And then Leonard Fournette has touchdown upside, but you have to think out of the gates Ronald Jones will get the shot at the starting role. So I'm going to go with you got to roll Woods, you got to roll Lockett, you got to roll Hilton. They're all solid players, and you have no reason to sit them down for Fournette or Scott. So that's where we're going on that one.
Yeah, would you start Boston Scott over Fournette this week?
Geez, that's tough.
I think
probably yes. Just from the volume standpoint, from what he projects to maybe have an opportunity to do. Leonard Fournette really, to me, hinges on getting in the end zone, because they get to the goal line, they're probably going to roll Leonard Fournette out once or twice to see what they've got with him. It's not a volume play with Fournette. It's certainly a touchdown upside. I have a friend that's just texted me. I'm just going to tell him answering on YouTube. He says, "Hey, fantasy expert." I wouldn't go that far, but sure. What do I do with Mike Evans? Is he worth starting? The 4:30 game time is really making it difficult. And my question to him will be, what are your other options? But again, temperature on Mike Evans, we are looking to pivot. We're not looking to rely on Mike Evans. We are projecting that Chris Godwin is going to be, obviously Chris Godwin's great, but he's going to get fed this week. And maybe we see Scotty Miller jump up and get involved. And maybe we see Justin Watson get involved. Maybe Gronk catches more passes than we think, but I'm not willing to roll out Mike Evans. That is the case. And I think you are the exact same. Ooh, your video feed is jumping all over the place here. I'm going to see if I can resize you. Hopefully
Eric
stays.
Bird just jumped on. He's asking about Jordan Reed.
Oh.
With all the Niners pass catchers out or questionable.
No.
Any interest in Jordan Reed?
None at all. Not at all. And sorry, Landon, I'm moving you around here. We've got this Skype issue where it seems to just want to resize. Jordan Reed, heck no. He'll probably find a way to get injured pregame, and that'll be that.
I know the Cardinals are bad against the tight end, but it's got to be Kittle or bust, in my opinion.
Right.
I don't know how much Jordan Reed's going to get, and he's just that big name at the back of the depth chart that he might get. If he'd be lucky to get a 10% kind of snap share, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
He could surprise. I think he's more of a DFS play. You'd have the 1% ownership of of Jordan Reed.
Mm-hmm.
So he's that kind of play for me where you don't have to rely on a 1.7 point performance from Jordan Reed because it's a good matchup. I think you're just getting a bit too cute there. I prefer Kendrick Bourne in that matchup.
100%.
If you're looking for a pass catcher for San Francisco.
Yeah. Now, Preston Williams, there's a question on him. He had limited work in practice this week coming off an ACL surgery. Preston Williams, it's leading to Mike Gesicki. That's what I wanted to say. If Preston Williams doesn't play, Mike Gesicki is going to get a huge bump, I think, in this passing game, and I think that they're going to need him to produce. So the question is from Steve, Mike Gesicki or Dallas Goedert in a full PPR. I think you're leaning Goedert, Landon.
Goddard. I mean, I do like Goddard, but like we talked about, Gesicki. Even if it's a tough matchup against New England, I still like Gesicki. I think.
I don't know if I'd say tough matchup. I mean, New England did lose a ton of defensive players to the opt-outs, so maybe not as potent as we saw last year's defense be. But I'm gonna roll Goddard here over Gesicki. I think the Gesicki play for me hinges on if Preston Williams is going to be a go or not, because I do think he will siphon away some targets. But with that being said, Dallas Goedert, probably the better play. Philadelphia, 52% of their sets last year were 2 tight end sets. They like to throw to the tight ends. They like getting them both involved. I would go Goddard.
Yeah. We had another question from Tyler. Mm-hmm. We answered this one already. Starting Lev Bell or DK Metcalf in the flex, it's a full PPR. If you want to I answered his question, but just confirm with him the upside versus going Metcalf over Lev in your opinion.
Yeah, again, DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett had the most red zone and end zone targets out of any 2 wide receiver set last year. 71 was the number. And when the Seattle Seahawks get down to the scoring zone, they like to target 2 alpha wide receivers. DK Metcalf is a huge, big-bodied receiver who is physical and has a lot of touchdown upside. Coming off also a really solid rookie season, look for DK Metcalf to increase his role this year. I think he's the play over Lev Bell.
Yeah. Good stuff. Anything else I'm just on Sleeper right now, getting some questions. Thank you, Steve, for stopping in. We appreciate you. Hit us, subscribe. We do this every single week, guys. Mm-hmm. We grind every single week an hour before kickoff. We're supposed to sign off at 12:30, but if we keep getting questions, we're going to keep on answering. So at least I am. Mac needs to set his lineups. He has about 25 that he needs to go through and 11. Check. So I only have I have about half of his, so I'm still good, guys.
We've locked and loaded our Scotty Fishbowl lineup, correct?
We have indeed. We should double check that one because we need to we got to win that boy.
Half PPR coming off a sleeper, half PPR in the flex. Cam Akers, Zach Moss, or AJ Dillon. Ooh, why do you have all 3 of those running backs? Cam Akers. Oh, man. Cam Akers, Zach Moss, or A.J. Dillon. So A.J. Dillon is out for me. I would probably roll Cam Akers there. What do you think?
Cam Akers over Zach Moss?
Cam Akers over Zach Moss.
Yep. I think you're right. I do believe in the talent of Cam Akers, and you're hoping – Cam Akers feels almost like a Rashad Penny to me right at this point in time where it's still a question mark. He was drafted fairly high. You're not super thrilled about it, but you got to rely on the talent and the draft capital that he was taken in. And it could be Rashad Penny, a bust, but it could be a kind of a Singletary type that blows up for you and helps you out. Singletary last year, I mean.
Crosa on Sleeper. Boston Scott or Keenan Allen for the flex play. Half PPR. Keenan Allen.
Are we getting some questions here in this not? Or you're just finding it?
I'm cruising. Keenan Allen is the play for me.
Yep. I like that.
Okay.
For sure. Brown or Lamb in the flex off of YouTube here.
What Brown?
I assume it's Hollywood.
Yeah.
But I can double check. James. Let's see, at James.
Yes. Let's assume Hollywood Brown, James. I would go CD Lamb. I wouldn't say better offense, but the offense that throws the ball more. I think CD Lamb really surprises this week. I came out yesterday on our podcast and Landon said, "What's your temperature on CD Lamb this week?" And I said it's a 9. Like, I think CD Lamb's going to be great. I really, really do.
Yeah.
Oh, it's John Brown. Then it's CD Lamb. Absolutely. John Brown was great last year for the Bills, but I mean, Stephon Diggs, hello, is here.
All right. Yeah, I'm good with Lamb. I still want to see it. I hope, especially. And here's the thing: I do think Amari Cooper is a little bit banged up. I'm not sure he plays a full snap share. That gives CeeDee Lamb a little bit of a higher upside. That's why I like Jarwin, and I also I love Gallup a lot this week. So yes, CeeDee Lamb. I think the talent. I mean, he was the number 1 rookie wide receiver in this class, and hopefully Dak Prescott can get him the ball. So thanks, James, for the question. Thanks for coming by. Hit a subscribe, like the video. We do this every single week, boys. Let's go.
Woo. So
Robinson or Edwards? Michael.
Allen Robinson?
No, I assume that's James Robinson.
Okay. Yeah, James Robinson's out.
You want Edwards there?
Yeah. So my buddy has gotten back to me. He says that Mike Evans is his play, but he can replace with Corey Davis, Matt Breida, or Corey Clement. He said, all my flex are in my wide receivers already. My bench is hurting. I would say yes, it is hurting. Matt Breida, I'd probably roll there. Breida's probably highest in your ranking of those players?
Yep, absolutely. We got Scotty is grinding on Sleeper right now. He's throwing people here. What up, Tim? Thanks for coming by, Scotty. Tim, we're here every single week, an hour before kickoff, grinding, answering every single question we get. We're not like the big guys. We don't answer 1% of the questions. We're answering every single one. Tim, start 2. He's got Gibson, Taylor, Lindsey, Dobbins, Cohen. He needs help. He's a full PPR league, Mac. What is Tim going to do?
Tim's question is, in the chat? Oh, at the bottom.
Yeah.
I lost it. Whoa.
So he's got
right here.
Gibson.
Antonio Gibson, Jonathan Taylor, Phillip Lindsay, J.K. Dobbins, Tariq Cohen. Oh, man. Full PPR. Well, frick. I think you have to go Antonio Gibson. I think out of this group, you have to start him. And then, I mean, again, we've been on the J.K. Dobbins train. Starting 2 rookies isn't great, but I don't really love Tariq Cohen. And I guess Phillip Lindsay projects to be somewhat safe because I do think they'll use them both. So I'm torn between Lindsay and Dobbins there. But I think Antonio Gibson is definitely a must-play out of this group.
Yeah, and so the other one, so we've said this before, and this is a really Jonathan Taylor, Marlon Mack are back-to-back. These guys are very startable in this lineup. Marlon Mack, I think, projects to have a safer floor, where Taylor could get the entire workload for the second half. They might, but at the same time, Marlon Mack could easily score 1 or 2 touchdowns in the first half to get them that lead, and then Taylor just grinds out the clock. So they both have a similar floor, but a ceiling play is going to be Taylor because he's going to be that player that we're projecting that you can't get off the field. He's just so good running people over. What we saw from Clyde Edwards last night, but better. So I do technically have Taylor higher in the ranks, but I understand the risk associated with Taylor. If he just doesn't get that work and it's just Marlon Mack, then you started a dud. So where Dobbins, I'll talk through this kind of the question a little bit because Scotty sent him over from Sleeper. Dobbins, they run the ball the most. I think Dobbins is one of the most talented rookies coming out as well, but I do project Ingram to have a massive workload week 1, especially in the red zone. Mark Ingram scored a ton of touchdowns last year. We know they trust him. Mark Ingram's going to be on the field for these high value plays.
Agreed.
And so that's where you got to take it's it's a higher ceiling for Taylor than Dobbins, in my opinion.
Welcome into the new people. I just see we got a little spike here, up to 23 viewers, only 12 likes. So those of you coming in that are new, click that like button. Really, really appreciate it. If you seem to like Landon and I, maybe the advice we give you is what you were looking for, that little red button is also a nice thing to click. That subscribe button helps out the channel. So let's get to some more questions. Tim said, go Pack. You know what, my man. Hopefully you can be with this each and every week. Jerry, Terry McLaurin, Stephon Diggs, and Mike Evans. Should I bench or start Mike Evans? So if those are your three options, I think you have to sit Evans down because McLaurin and Diggs are two solid options, and I would happily play both of them this week with the scare that Mike Evans not play, and it's a 4:30 game, so you don't want to miss out on those 1 o'clock slates.
Yeah. We have Donald. I'm gonna say Donald.
The Donald.
Landry, Parker, or James White. I'm going Parker and James White there.
What was the question? Sorry.
Half PPR. Yep. Jarvis Landry, Devontae Parker, and James White.
Start one or start two?
I believe it's just a start one. So I guess we'll rank
Devontae Parker, James White, and then Jarvis Landry.
Yep.
And as you can see on the graphic on the screen, Jarvis Landry is a go for today, but he might be put on a snap count. So we have a limited tag on Jarvis Landry. So I'm considering other options over him.
Anthony Durr, I have the same problem in one of my big leagues between Gibson and White. If it's a half PPR, I'm actually going to go with James White over Gibson. So I'm not sure if he's still around, but I will jump on. I'm going White over Gibson that's what I have, that same thing. If I change my mind, I'll tweet at you or comment your name if I change my mind. But right now I've got White over Gibson.
I have White pretty high this week. I just look to that New England backfield and they might go with a committee approach. I definitely expect that to happen, especially given their situation. And new pieces coming in, whatever. James White will be the staple, though. He will get the consistent pass-catching work, and Cam Newton has a tendency to check down to his wide receiver, a la Christian McCaffrey. I don't know if you've heard of him. But I think that James White projects to have the safest workload, and I think he's going to eat this week in a soft matchup against the Dolphins.
Yeah, another question. A lot of Cohen stuff. Cohen, Singletary, White. I would probably go White, Singletary, Cohen in that order.
I would as well.
Yep.
We got some more ones off of the YouTube here. Hunter Renfrow, Kendrick Bourne, or Zach Moss half PPR. I would go Bourne, Renfrow, Moss. That's the way I would rank them.
Sounds good.
You're good with that? Bourne.
Yep.
Okay, Johnny Maz, thank you so much. Scrolling down.
Kong Lee, we have Higbee or
Hunter Henry.
Henry.
Okay, so I'm going to say that, oh, geez, man. Hunter Henry is definitely the better play in my opinion, but Tyler Higbee, I think, has the higher ceiling. And if what we saw out of Tyler Higbee projects forward this year from the last 5 games of the previous year, I mean, Jared Goff found something with Tyler Higbee. Now, you can make the argument that Gerald Everett wasn't on the field, and thus, he'll eat into Higbee's upside. But I think that Higbee is the alpha, and the more we get closer to the season, the more I believe in this. So I would probably play Tyler Higbee, but I know that Hunter Henry is also a very viable option. I would go Higbee, but I don't think you have a bad play here. I'll just preface with saying that as well.
So yeah, totally. It's super close. Like I might lean Henry, but you could change my mind in a split second.
And I think that these guys will both be top 10 tight ends on the week. So again, I don't think you have a bad option there, but Higbee certainly has the higher ceiling, and at the tight end position, that's what I'm going to go with. Jonah, should I start Murray or Rodgers? I assume that's Kyler Murray.
Yeah. What do you think, Max? So he's looking into the matchup here. We have Rodgers against the Vikings, and we have Kyler Murray against the 49ers. So for me, Jonah, I'm playing Rodgers in a ton of my DFS lineups. I'm thinking he's going to have a big game, but there's no question that Kyler Murray still has a massive upside. He's played well against the Niners, even though the Niners held quarterbacks to a low fantasy point season. So that I'm not concerned about. We still haven't seen Kyler Murray with DeAndre Hopkins live in a game. This boosts Kyler Murray's ceiling even more. The rushing ability, Aaron Rodgers doesn't touch that. You have to start your stud, the guy you took early in Kyler Murray week 1. I don't think it's a bad start with Rodgers. I'm playing him in a ton, like I said, but I still think Kyler Murray will outperform him.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you there, Lando. Like, the only thing that the Niners defense struggles to protect against is the mobile quarterback. And Kyler Murray, we've seen in the past, these two teams match up twice a year. Kyler Murray has exploited this Niners defense. So DeForest Buckner no longer a part of this defense. Kyler Murray might have a little bit more room to work than people expect. So I'm going to go Murray there. Rodgers, obviously, really nice divisional matchup against the Vikings, a team that he loves to torch. But I'm going to go Kyler Murray. I hope DeAndre Hopkins helps him out in the passing game as much as we think. Whew.
Josh Allen or Drew Brees? Another quarterback question here.
Oh, man, that's tough. That is super
really
tough.
Really tough.
I'm rolling. I'm going to go Drew Brees.
Yeah.
I mean, the Bucks have one of the best run defenses in the league, but they also have one of the worst secondaries in the league. I know it's gotten better, but it's still not stout. So I'm going to say Drew Brees, the most accurate quarterback, should have lots of protection behind center. So I'm going to go with Drew Brees.
Adam just jumped in on the YouTube channel. Thank you, sir. Thanks for coming in. We got 20 people watching.
Adam was
we
in
love
here
it.
earlier. We did help him with a question.
Oh, we
Yes.
did? All right. Well, thanks for coming back, man. Carr or Burrow? He's in a 2-quarterback league, already starting Lamar Jackson. So that does factor in for me because we know Lamar has a super high ceiling. Mm-hmm. He was the best fantasy quarterback at all last year. So he wants a guy that just doesn't bust his team and make him lose the matchup. Do you kind of see it that way?
Or you could say that you can afford
or take a risk.
You can afford to take a risk because kind of like Christian McCaffrey is like a running back and a half. Lamar Jackson's also a quarterback and a half. So, I mean, you could get kind of spicy with Burrow here. I know AJ Green is cleared to play and should be on the field. T. Higgins probably not playing with that hamstring injury, but surrounded with weapons. That's a seriously good question. Oh, man. Like, does the matchup matter anything to you for Burrow?
For sure, because Derek Carr has a great matchup.
Derek Carr does have a good matchup, and Derek Carr has been underrated for fantasy. I think he was like quarterback 14 last year, which is fringe quarterback 1. I'm going to go Derek Carr. You've got Joe Burrow. If he pops off week 1 and he's everything that he was at LSU and now translating to the NFL, you got a great player that you can have more confidence in going forward. But put Joe Burrow on your bench, let him prove you wrong instead of proving you wrong in a place that matters.
Yeah, sounds good. So Amir just jumped in. Thanks for coming in. If you haven't liked the video, subscribe to our channel. We do this every single week, and we answer every single question we have. He's got a tough one. So he's got 2 questions. Noah Fant or Chris Herndon, and then Mostert or DJ Chark in the flex. So
go ahead, Landon.
For me, the tight end question is super easy. I'm going Noah Fant.
Yeah, I agree. Wholeheartedly.
No question.
The Mostert or DJ Chark is interesting. I do have Mostert in a fair amount of DFS lineups because I have Jimmy Garoppolo for cheap, $5,800 on DraftKings. But DJ Chark, I think you look at the Jags, they're projected to be heavy dogs in this matchup. They're probably going to be behind the 8 ball to start. I think that regardless of what happens, DJ Chark will be heavily involved. But if they get down, Gardner Minshew could get pass happy. They could feature DJ Chark like they did all last season, finishing, or he was at one point like the wide receiver 4 on the year. So DJ Chark, man, I roll him out. I really like him. I know Raheem Mostert is probably the safer play, but I think DJ Chark is going to be hyper involved, hyper targeted.
Yeah, the worst thing you want as a Raheem Mostert starter is for Tevin Coleman to come in there and vulture a touchdown, and it could totally happen.
And they could also, in a game that could potentially get out of hand, they could also feature Jerick McKinnon or Jeff Wilson Jr. I mean, they have a stable of running backs to employ in this game, so I'm probably going to go DJ Chark, the stud wide receiver.
Yeah. We hit the 250 goal, Mac, for subscribers. So thank you to everyone watching. Honestly, the baby steps mean a ton to us.
Huge.
This is why we do the grind. This is why we're answering all your questions. We want your fantasy teams to win. We want our fantasy teams to win. And we're taking all the knowledge we've accumulated just to try to help out and make this grind worth it. So thank you guys.
And it's not even really like to a point it is that, Landon, but that goal of hitting 250, it's a small milestone for us, but the whole goal is just to grow a bigger community, right? Like we want to have more people that are like-minded like us that love fantasy football and love supporting each other and helping each other out. So that's the whole goal here. Grow this little community we have as big as we can and keep having more fun. So for those that click subscribe, thank you so much.
So I'm on YouTube, or I'm on Sleeper right now, going through some questions. Tight end question I have, Mike Gesicki or Jonnu Smith? Woo. Where do you see yourself leaning in that
Again,
in that scenario?
The Gesicki play hinges on the news of Preston Williams, which as of right now looks like he's going to be a go. So yeah. I'm going to go the other side there. I'm going to go with Jonnu Smith, who a lot of people have as a breakout tight end. That's where I'm going.
Yeah, me too.
Okay. Up to 20 likes, by the way. You guys are awesome, man. Thank you so much. Fant or Higbee? Zubin, he's got another question. I would go Tyler Higbee. I want Noah Fant. Higbee. I want Noah Fant to be. Man. It's close for sure. I want Noah Fant to be, heavily involved, especially with Courtland Sutton being down. But again, it's a Monday nighter. I'm going Higbee.
If you want to stick around this, and the problem is, even though the Denver game, we want to see it, we want Drew Lock to do well, it could just be a really messy game from the Broncos perspective. It's very possible that I could really get nothing going, and it's a disappointment for points scored. Even though there's a lot of fantasy options available, and this leads me into my next question. Would you go Judy or Ruggs?
Judy.
Yeah.
Judy. And I think if you're between the Ruggs Edwards thing, you go Ruggs as well. But I don't want to.
Right.
I don't really want to have to bet on that offense. But Judy's the better talent in my opinion. The better route runner. I mean, obviously Ruggs is a speed demon, but Jerry Jeudy creates separation. He's a great wide receiver, man. I think play Jerry Jeudy. The narrative couldn't be better for him right now.
Yeah, right now we'll see if he can really be that number Alpha. One wide receiver on his team with Courtland Sutton banged up.
I agree.
And I think you're right. I'm excited to watch Ruggs. That's one of those players that I can't wait to see live on TV. And man, we're only 22 minutes away from game time. I am jacked up.
So I'm going to say, Lando, we're going to go for another 7. We're going to, we're going to go 15 minutes of overtime. We'll stop the stream at 12:45. So if you got those last minute pressing questions, get them in there. Get them in there, and we'll do our best to get to them.
Oh, there's some tough ones coming in here. Noah, he's got Mike Evans and Boston Scott. Now, we said we're going to fade Mike Evans hard. How much are you fading Mike Evans?
Yeah, I would go Boston Scott. I am hands off on Mike Evans this week. I don't want I mean, obviously, we want to see him and Tom Brady get that connection going. We want to get a piece of this huge fantasy game that everyone thinks is going to happen, myself included. I'm hands off on Mike Evans.
Yeah, it feels so wrong to bench Evans for Scott. But, hey, man, that late round draft pick when you got Boston Scott and you're like, I don't know who else to draft, it's paying off week 1 already. Well, hopefully it does.
Saints or Chargers D coming in from Caleb. I would roll Chargers. Better defense, and they don't have to go up against the powerful Bucks. Fire those cannons.
Even without Derwin James, I think it's still the Chargers. Right. We just don't see.
I mean, they're a top 10 defense, man.
Yeah, we don't see Tom Brady throw interceptions, and that's what you want.
Preston Williams is declared ready for the opener, so he's going to be on the field. He's going to eat into the Mike Gesicki role, so Mike Gesicki is kind of getting downgraded just a little bit for me with that news.
Yeah, Jamal Jones, Russell Wilson are Big Ben. You got to go Russell Wilson. That should be an awesome game against Atlanta.
Great.
It's going to be an absolute shootout. Yeah. You got to go with Russ. Russ has a chance to be the number 1 quarterback this year.
Yeah.
Don't at me.
Zubin, mad love to you guys. Got to leave, but wish you well. See you next Sunday. Zubin, thank you so much for coming by. Appreciate you, and we will see you next Sunday. We'll be here for you.
We definitely will. We got some new people. I love it, Mac. We got some new listeners.
Yeah. Half PPR, Chris Herndon, Cam Akers, Preston Williams. That one's tough. I typically don't like to go tight end over running back and wide receiver. I'm going to roll Preston Williams for the upside, and that's where I'll leave it.
Kevin, I'm going Cam Akers.
Cam Akers. Yeah. Cam Akers is a good play, too. It just depends how much he gets on the field. And I do think he will. It just, we don't know. We just really don't know. Cy.
Fournette or Mack?
Yeah, Fournette or Marlon. I would go Marlon Mack.
I would also go Marlon Mack.
I assume, Cy, you're just joining the stream. We talked about Marlon Mack and Jonathan Taylor. That split out of the gates. You have to assume Marlon Mack, who's only 25 and had a great season last year, 1,000-yard rusher, will get the workload. So go Marlon Mack in week 1, and until you're proven otherwise, roll it.
And we touched on Fournette. He's got a ton of touchdown upside, but he just got to that offense. If he has 1 or 2 touchdowns, I would not be shocked to throw that in everyone's faces, all the Fournette haters' faces. But we still don't know. We don't know what kind of workload. I could also see Chris Godwin having 3 touchdowns, or Gronk having 1. So it's possible. If Fournette doesn't get in the end zone, I think it's a bust of a game 1.
I do too. And if you've got Chris Godwin, I mean, it is a full go. There couldn't be any more confidence. I have him in pretty much all of my DFS lineups. I think Chris Godwin's going to have a day, maybe wide receiver 1 on the week.
Oh, I feel you, Kevin, man. I feel you, Kevin. That's tough. I have lots of matchups where I have to start Chase Edmonds in a lineup.
Oh, Kevin,
So if you feel my pain, I'm without Kenny G, I'm without Cortland Sutton, I'm without Miles Sanders.
Kevin, I feel for you, bro. Losing your 2 alpha wide receivers, Kenny G and Mike Evans. Oh, that's a tough pill to swallow. But you, sir, are a champion, and you have the opportunity to overcome this and make that win feel even more special. So grind, that's why we're here.
Man, we're at 22 watching. You guys are freaking awesome. You guys are this is definitely I'm hyped. I can feel the energy. I can't wait to watch football for real. Hopefully you have all your questions in. Mac, if you wanna get out, we're just hanging out here. I'm gonna go through my lineups here, talk to the people about who I am starting and going through. I've got a ton. So in our listener league, so we do, if you guys are just joining for the first time, we do a Snap listener league. This year we had a ton of unique scoring formats, a tiered PPR, tight end premium, super flex league. If you want to get in on this, keep interacting with us every week. We're on Instagram, we're on Twitter. Get us on there and we'll answer all your questions. But so I've got Kenny Golladay out, and I can't throw him on IR because of our settings.
I got a question from a friend here. Who do you play this week? Yep. Evan Ingram versus Pittsburgh or Austin Hooper versus Baltimore?
Evan Ingram.
That is an Evan Ingram for me as well. I'm just gonna take a picture of him here. Say hello to YouTube, my friend.
Oh, geez. All right. So I'm starting Mark Andrews. I'm starting Mark Ingram. Odell Beckham, I will stick in there over Terry McLaurin. It's I'll be watching that game like a hawk. I should just even get it going here right now. Just to get things going.
I think we're going to call it here, Lando.
All right.
Yeah, I got to get my lineup set. I got 11 leagues to tinker with before. That gives me a minute each. Listen, really appreciate you guys. Huge success, week 1 stream. Appreciate everybody that came by. Old listeners, we wouldn't be here without you guys supporting us from day 1. And to everybody that we met today, really nice to meet you. Please come back next Sunday. And we appreciate the subscriptions, the likes, all the love. Hopefully we helped you win that week 1 matchup. Let's get on the road to 16-0. And we'll see you guys next Sunday. Lando, anything for the people before we go?
Nothing, man. I just got Kevin on Twitter, so we're going to be interacting every single week. This is why we do this. Make connections. We love it, guys.
Sigh. Last one. Last question. Super last minute. Galladay's hurt. Now I got Deontay Johnson or Darius Slayton. Which one? Go Deontay Johnson. I'm a huge Darius Slayton owner, but I would go Deontay Johnson over him. Okay, we'll see you guys next Sunday. Good luck. Have fun. Football's back.
Love it.
We'll see ya.